Hold on, I might have fixed it. I might have fixed it. Did I fix it? Come on. Come on, connect. Come on, connect. Come on. Yes! Okay, I know what happened. Okay. Oh my word. I can't. Oh my god. But let me guess, you can't hear the music, can you? I think I figured everything out. There's a really stupid option in the settings, and I figured it out. Okay, so if I click this, and I click this, bam, let me guess, now there's music. And now there's music, correct? No? Hold on, it just got very quiet. Hold on, the music's ending, that's why. Is there music? No? Still no? Now music. Yeah! Yeah! We did it! Oh my god. Yay! We did it! Oh my god. Welcome to the Q&A live stream, which is all technical difficulties all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are ready. We lost 20 viewers, but that is okay. Howdy! My name is Nonat, and welcome to the RPG Advice live stream. What a jump scare. Good. I am happy to see we have 70 people in here today. Allow me to also hit the record button. I'm happy to see that we have 70 people in here. For the next 2 hours, I am your humble servant here to answer any questions you have, be it from a player perspective, a GM perspective, or just my personal opinions on stuff. I am so excited to see all of you people here. I'm going to start off by answering a few questions from Twitter, because I actually knew a couple people who couldn't make the stream that wanted to get their questions answered. So, let's go ahead and start off with this. Let's see. Neo Varsuvius asks, what house rules do I use? I'd be interested in hearing what little things you've done to adjust the game, or if you basically have none. A lot of this depends on what system I am playing. Typically, the more rules something has, the less house rules I feel the need to use. For example, in Pathfinder 2e, I don't actually use all that many house rules. I tend to really just follow things as I go, though my biggest house rule is that if I don't know what something does, and I can't figure it out by a quick Archives of Nethys search, that's when I house rule something. House rules are very in the moment for me. I don't really have any that I just apply 100% of the time. Urban Dragon asks, what is the best start for the 2 different cleric builds? What spells make sense for a strength cleric versus a classic caster one? As far as like the best start, if you're playing a war priest, you're going to want to opt for spells that are not affected by your wisdom stat. This way you don't need to dump a whole bunch of extra points into wisdom, and you can focus on your strength, constitution, and charisma. Constitution to obviously keep you alive, strength to increase your accuracy and damage and wear heavier armor, and charisma because that still gives you more divine font spell slots to slap yourself with those heal spells or inflict harm spells on your enemies. As a war priest, you are going to want to be picking spells that function no matter what. You know, heroism is the ultimate example. It's not affected by any kind of spell modifier. An enemy doesn't need a saving throw. Focus much more on buffs rather than inflicting status conditions on enemies. Charlie says, when it comes to contentious rules at the table and there is no consensus to a ruling online, what is my general go-to course of action? Make it up. Make it up on the spot. Obviously, the better you are at improving and the more you understand the system, the easier that is. So you want to really just keep the flow of the game going. If you don't remember how a high jump works, have them roll athletics, just decide on a DC there on the spot. How hard's the jump, what's going on around them, just go for it. I am no nat 1s, but what is your favorite nat 1 you've rolled as a player or a DM? That one's tough, because I haven't rolled, I shouldn't say I haven't rolled, I don't remember a whole lot of nat 1s. I think my favorite ones, and these happen more often than you might expect, is when I hype things up. I get super into character in a super serious mood, like a super serious moment, and I just put it all on the table. I go for that critical hit. I roll a nat 1, and every part of that serious moment goes out the window as I shoot an arrow in the opposite direction, or dust gets in my eye, or something like that. It's always hilarious when you nat 1 a super serious moment. And finally, Jason WFD asks, what is my favorite memory from a game I've played that wasn't Pathfinder 2 or D&D 5e? My favorite memory is actually out of game, not at the table. It was unfortunately the last session of our Call of Cthulhu campaign. It just dropped, it never got finished, but we had finally encountered our first eldritch monster. We never even got to see what it was. It was just under the muck of a swamp, and it attacked a bunch of the NPCs with us and scarred our characters, and we never kept playing after that. But about a month later, I decided to write out an entire list of recordings from my character, Peter Quill. Peter Quill was a radio journalist, and so somewhere on my old computer, there is still a text file of Peter Quill's last recordings after his encounter with this eldritch abomination and his slow descent into madness through his recording. It was so cool. And those are all of our Twitter questions here today. Don't need double me. Those are all of our Twitter questions here today, so let's move on to here in live chat. Let's see. You don't remember nat ones because there are none? True. Let's see. I've always had a lot of trouble with creating battle maps and creating interesting battles. Do you have any advice that could help? Yes, absolutely. First thing to think about when creating an encounter, specifically a map for an encounter, is avoid the flat plane. This is the first step you always take, is how can I make this map interesting? If that means adding a platform, adding some pillars, adding some cover here or there, let your brain get really creative and really picture what would be in the area, even if it seems unimportant. If you're in a dungeon, maybe there's a pile of bones big enough that someone could crouch down behind it. If you are in an arena, add some pillars, add some grates that could let them go under the arena or something like that. Really get creative and paint the picture in your mind, or even do research on that kind of location. The more you can add to a battle map, the more you give your players to play with. Personally, I use Incarnate. There's a ton of map makers out there. Incarnate just has some awesome options, and it's been really great for what I've been trying to do. I hope that helps. What are my favorite accessories to use when playing in person? I am such a traditionalist. I don't use a whole lot when playing in person. I do love a flip map. A pre-gridded, pre-made flip map is super nice and easy, and lets me just sort of get into the game without needing to worry about over-describing things. At the same time, though, it does spoil future rooms and forces players to not know what's coming, even though they can see a cobweb-filled room coming up. No, typically, the only things I have with me in person are a notepad filled with my notes. Like, I can find any random page in here, and I'll find, we've got initiative orders. Up here, we've got hit points. I have just pages on pages in this notebook and they're totally random. They're not even, like, in order. But random pages just have more and more. Yeah, that's a different page of just hit points and initiative orders. That's how I keep track of everything. Oh, that's a way better. There's an example of my DM notes. Those are my DM notes right there. But yeah, I have this. I have dice. I usually just keep a really random assortment. Whoa! Yo, Half Sword, thank you for the generous $10 super chat. Thank you for answering my question. Thank you for asking your question. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just keep a random assortment of dice near me. I actually don't have a single complete set here. This may trigger some dice goblins. So if you're a dice goblin, beware. But all of my dice that I keep next to me are so random. I do not have a complete D4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 set of any dice here, because I am constantly losing or misplacing dice. So pretty much, this is my standard array of dice I have with me. Just random dice from random sets of random sizes. And I just grab one and roll it, you know? So, aside from that, I do have a dice tower. People love this. Let me go grab it real fast. One of my girlfriend's friends sent me this, and I have started using this a bit more at the table. It's a ton of fun. It's super thematic. The only downside is just how much space it takes up, because this thing is massive. But it's so freaking cool. Show up and you leave? Yeah, I left because you showed up. But yeah, no, one of my girlfriend's friends makes dice towers, 3D prints them, and this thing is amazing. I love the detail on the dragon. It's just so shiny and satisfying. Are you gonna stay up here and not fall? Other than that, obviously I have my rule books, but that's about it. I used to have a dice spell tracker that I got from Arcane Spectacles, which is really, really nice, but I lost that in the apartment fire a few months back, so sadly I do not have that anymore. But that's really about it. I'm not that special when it comes to playing. Most of what I do is up here or just written down on paper. Any advice on running sessions in a city, Jake Kassar asks. Yes. Plan everything in advance. A city is simultaneously one of the easiest and hardest campaign settings to run. I'm running one in a city right now, but it's really easy because every single part of the city is already pre-written out. The hard part of running a city is you have a lot of pre-planning to do, work you have to do in advance. If you plan to run in a city, you need to make sure every shop has at least a sentence of description to what it is and what it does, different districts, why they exist, and also, you know, the political part of the city, the underbelly of the city. Now, granted, you might not need every single nook and cranny, but if you want to be prepared for where your players might go, designing your city ahead of time is really difficult but really helpful, because once it's designed, you are ready for anywhere your players will go. If your entire campaign takes place in one major city and you already have the entire thing written out, you technically don't need to write another note for the rest of the campaign. Obviously, things will change, take notes about political changes or enemies the players make and whatnot, but the city itself is structured and is there. So that's my big advice is, if you're running a city specifically, pre-write everything. Or play something that's already been written. Let's see, how do I get my gaming group to start playing again, but start again with a new system? I get this one a lot, Lucky Butt. This one is tough. You cannot force somebody to play a new system is the thing. Your best bet... Whoa, Phantom Prince, $20. I will get to that in just a moment. Thank you, Phantom Prince. I really, really appreciate the donation. How do you get your gaming group to play 2E? You don't get them to. Your best bet is to present the system to them, say, hey guys, I would like to run this game at least as a one-shot. Offering a one-shot is way easier than saying, let's use this for our next campaign. Because if you play the one-shot and they like it, then you have a chance to run a full campaign, and convincing someone to play a one-shot is a lot easier. Tell them why you like it, but, and this is a big but, Lucky Butt, do not force it down their throats. Humans as creatures, for some reason, the more something is pushed on us, the less we want to do it. The more that something, the more you're like, hey, you gotta play because you can do archetypes, and you can be an alchemist, and there's an APG with all these cool classes, and you can do this and you can do that, and you know, explain it once, and if they say no, hold off, you know, give it a week or two, let them process, or you know, even if they say maybe. But don't pester them, because the more you pester them, they're going to link the annoying non-stop rabble with the system, and then they'll start to connect those, and they will never want to play the system. The best way to get your players to play the system is to get them to want to play the system. So Phantom Prince with their $20 super chat says, how far outside the rules would you personally go as a GM to help a player realize their dream character? As far as the table is okay with. I am okay with breaking every rule in the book so long as every other character, every other player at the table is equally okay with that. if my level 2 character really wants to have Thor's hammer, that is, you know, a returning, shocking, thundering hammer or whatever, when obviously that's like a level 12 or whatever, I think it's like a level 8 or 9 item in Pathfinder, I will work with them. You know, I will make it an artifact that levels up with them. And at level 1, maybe it's just a throwing hammer, and as they level up, it grows with them. It'll gain the thundering trait at higher levels, maybe even gaining a weaker version of thundering at level 2 or 3 for like 1d4 extra thunder damage. Or when they get a striking rune, it adds an extra die of thunder damage, so it's doing 1d8 bludgeoning and 1d8 thunder, rather than just 2d8 bludgeoning. I will break any rules I need to ensure my players are having fun. And a lot of people will complain, saying, well, if you make your players too strong, then it's going to completely unravel your campaign. It's going to destroy the world around them, and they're just going to dominate. But what people often forget is that as a GM, you are free to make the world stronger along with them. If my player at level 2 has a 2d12 weapon and 100 hit points, I don't know how that'll happen, I'm just exaggerating here, they're going to fight enemies that also deal hefty damage and have a lot of hit points to put up a fight. Just because my players are slightly stronger doesn't mean I'm going to pit them against the same enemies I would have if they were weaker. So yes, I say break any rule that your table is comfortable breaking to make a unique character. Just make sure the game is balanced around the party. And again, people are like, the world is the world, you can't change the world. And I'm like, yeah you can. That's what the game master does, is change the world, because you are the world. I hope that helped, Phantom Prince. Yeah, so break any rules you're comfortable breaking, but remember, if you break them for a player, you can also break them for the enemies. Let's see. Oh, my chat fell behind. Null Wolf, do you prefer to build enemies following the rules exactly, or do you just use the rules as basic start and will slap on whatever you think is thematic? Typically, I will just re-flavor and sometimes rewrite something. For example, a boss in one of my campaigns, I'm using... my players aren't quite high enough level to fight that boss, so I'm just downgrading it. You know, I'm downgrading it like 5 levels so that it's an equal fight for them. You know, in the campaign, you know, it's not at full power or whatever, so they can fight this thing and have a chance, you know, even though it's technically 8 levels ahead of them. Sometimes I'll also just slap a coat of paint on something and call it unique. You know, I'll take a really easy example is just slapping the undead trait on anything. You want to fight an undead troll, slap the undead trait on a troll, maybe change some of its damage types, give it immunity to negative damage. You want to fight a vampire gnome? Cool. There's actual rules to change it to a vampire, so that's a bad example. But I won't often change the meat of stat blocks of monsters. I'll often change saving throws, armor class, and damage and hit points. Those are the 4 I'll usually change, and then also just reskin it to whatever I need it to be. Let's see. What else we got? What are the optional rules you use for Pathfinder 2e besides free archetype? Right now, we've just been using free archetype. I'm tempted to play with dual class, because I've heard it's not actually that broken. I've heard dual class just gives you more options, which could be fun, especially if you're playing with a smaller table. But right now, we've only been using free archetype. We haven't used stamina. We haven't used whatever the alignment one is. Nothing like that. But I want to. I do still want to experiment with a lot of those different variant rules. You can't just break it for the enemy. You have to break it for the enemy? What? Question. How do you feel about this home rule? You can take a shot in exchange for 35 damage or less. We do this because it makes your judgments... Oh, so you're like turning it... like, you mean like a shot of alcohol? As in, like, you can... instead of taking damage, you can take a shot of liquor because it will inhibit your judgment? That sounds really fun for a one-shot. Now, you can either do that to limit the... what would be really fun as a one-shot is to... yeah, have your players fight really strong enemies that constantly hit them for a ton of damage. but then give them that option. You know, if you want to reduce that damage, you can reduce it by 5 by taking a sip of beer, or reduce it by 35 by taking a shot. And then everybody just has fun, and their judgments get worse and worse, and that would be a really fun, just drunken one-shot, and I would totally play that. The player character should be about the same power level as the enemies. Agreed. How would you prepare a heavy exploration campaign? For example, they are explorers recruited to go through an unexplored area. Hexploration. I've used Hexploration once in one of my campaigns. Will, if you're still in here, you were there. And I want to use it more, and I want to do more with it. Hexploration is so underrated. If you're not aware of what Hexploration is, it's effectively a massive area map that you can move through the hexes, and each hex contains something unique. It can contain a dungeon, it can contain an encounter, it can contain a small settlement, and you can build out a whole area that can be explored and give your players the ability to use their exploration abilities, scout ahead, map the area and whatnot. And it lets you as a GM prepare a lot more, because you are, same reason I talked about the cities earlier, you already know what's in every single hex. So letting your players explore, you're always prepared for what they're going to do, but they still have freedom to do and go wherever they want. Can you show us the recordings of what, Cookie Ghost? What recordings? As someone who used to play with people who got drunk in games, I would 100% suggest you do not do the shots homebrew. Not if you're going for like a super invested, serious, like emotional campaign. If you're just doing like a fun one-shot dungeon crawl, doing that drunk could be fun. But again, talk to your table. If not everyone at the table is comfortable with that, then obviously don't do it. Howdy No Not Ones, have you made any homebrew ancestry in your campaign? I have not touched on ancestry yet. I have made tons of homebrew subclasses and even some homebrew magic items, but I have not done any homebrew ancestries. I want to, though. Ancestries are cool. I just feel like I don't know the lore well enough. I just spilled water on my pants, so that's great. I don't know the lore of Galarian well enough, and I haven't had any ancestries I've wanted to make yet. With the release of the Ancestry Guide last month, like, there's so much already available that I don't feel like I need much more right now. Hexploration is super cool. Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I have a build question. Which would you choose for an unarmed build that isn't a monk? Ruffian, Rogue, or Flurry Ranger? No fighters here, they're cheaters. Ooh. I think Ruffian Rogue would be fun, because you could sneak attack, right? Or fists are simple weapons. Yeah, so you could totally sneak attack with that. That would be a bunch of fun. A ruffian that sneaks up on people and just like breaks their arms, snaps their neck. That'd be a lot of fun. Flurry Ranger would be really cool too, because you could just aura all over the place. So it's all about what you want. Flurry Ranger would let you just super fighting game punch super fast, whereas Ruffian Rogue would give you that One Punch Man style super hit on sneak attacks. How much can you pull from a fantasy book for a setting? All of it. Pull everything you want. What I have learned from playing for about 10 years now, yeah, more like 8 years, is that your players do not care what is ahead of them. Your players, especially playing with friends, you know, if you're playing professionally, your people are paying to play with you, that's a different story. But if you're playing with your friends, you are there to play with each other. You know, you're there to hang out as friends first, usually, at least in my experience, and the game is second, you know, because you're just there to hang out and have a good time. So even if you're playing through the Star Wars story in a fantasy setting, people aren't gonna care, and it's probably not gonna go the same way. You know, you could set the entire Lord of the Rings story out in front of your players, and especially if you don't tell them, there can often be this aha moment where they're like 3 sessions in and they go, wait, are we just going to Mordor? And you go, yes. And they'll laugh and they'll go, I knew it! And often from there, it gives your players some interesting meta game choices to make, like, ooh, we've just been following the Lord of the Rings story up to this point, but what happens if we don't go through Moria? Let's go around Moria, and then you as a GM get to completely make it up. You know, they go around Moria or over Moria, and they get ambushed by Uruk-hai or ring wraiths or whatever, and you can change the story. So there's this nice build-up to where your players figure out the story you're telling, and then you can change it, and it's a ton of fun. Yo, Null Wolf, thank you for the $5 super chat. Music is competing with my voice? Cool. Good to know. I will shrink that down. Done? Is that better? I can turn it down even more. I just know some people were saying that that might be too small. Some people were saying that the music was too quiet, but how about that? Can you give us a small teaser of your next Patreon homebrew? You know what? I would love to. Let's see. Let's grab that. If you guys are interested, there is a link to my Patreon. Oh, that is not the way to do the link. There is a link to my Patreon about to be in the chat. And once a month, I do release Patreon homebrew. I am sort of here and there about what I want to do this month. I think I want to, like, I'm leaning towards a barbarian. I am leaning towards, like, a reckless barbarian subclass. One that actually doesn't gain resistances, but instead gains weaknesses. So, like, when they rage, they actually become even less defensive, but their damage is even higher than other barbarians, which is, the hard part is balancing that. Because barbarians now, even like an animal instinct, do insane damage. So I want to find some way to balance that, whereas, you know, you give yourself a weakness while raging to deal tons of bonus damage. That could be fun. I've also played around with some different bloodlines of sorcerer, but I'm not really confident on that one yet. So I'm definitely leaning towards barbarian, as well as a monk. I do want to make a new, because monks don't have subclasses, I want to make a new feat tree for monks that do a new stance. I'd have to do more research into actual martial arts, but I think some new monk stances would be tons of fun, or even new, like, mutations on existing stances. Alternatively, I have also thought about combining stances, you know, monkey tiger stance or gorilla tiger stance at the same time. A feat that lets you get into both stances and then do something with that could be really fun. Isn't that Giant Instinct with extra steps? Kind of. Giant Instinct on crack? Sort of. Again, that's the hard part about homebrew and design as a whole, is you can't make something else obsolete. You need to be careful with what you do, and that's why I haven't released anything yet this month. I haven't landed on anything I'm super happy with. So I made a mistake, which is, long story short, I allowed one of my players to roll for, and they're so high, it's kind of hard to balance encounters. I threw what should... that... I made a mistake, which is, long story short, I allowed one of my players... I'm guessing that's, like, to roll for their stats, so it's hard to balance encounters. So that gets tough. You know, once you've allowed one single player to become so strong, it gets difficult, because you can't just throw harder and harder encounters out, otherwise you'll kill your balanced players. My biggest advice to that would be to talk to that player, maybe reset their stats to what they would have been built by. If they're not okay with that, it gets tough. Communication is key. Once you've already skewed the balance at your table, re-leveling it is very, very difficult. Your best bet is to talk to your players as a group, talk about what's happening, and come to a nice conclusion. Either buff everybody else, or maybe that one character will be down to downgrade himself. The other option, and this is kind of the more skeezy one, but you could plan some kind of curse or something, but that gets messy because you can't just curse them because they're stronger and they'll feel slighted. I would advise against doing that. Thank you, Phantom Prince, for another $5 super chat. Supporting you more because my wife isn't here to remind me of our budget. Phantom Prince! No! Tyler V with another $5. Imagine ignoring budgets. Y'all better be able to afford your rent or your mortgage or whatever it is adults pay for nowadays. Thank you guys for the donation. Sincerely, I appreciate it. Yeah, I agree with Claudio. It's not as big a deal in some other systems where a +1 isn't... What is happening? Whoa! Sorry, we just got 2 more $10 super chats? They haven't popped up quite yet. What? Wait, come on, pop up so I can read it. I just see that it showed up on the chat. Ah! Am I Jason Bowman's secret son? Everyone seems to think so. Come on, pop up. Where's the... Come on. Where's the donation? Bam. Hey! Alex Dunn with the $10 super chat. And it should... Oh, did it show Maz's as well? Come on, show the other one. There was another one. There it is. Yo, Maz, freaking Maz, dude. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I will gladly take your money and buy something with it. I don't know. Maybe I'll just pay for my apartment and pay my rent and my bills and my debts. And Alex Dunn with another $10 super chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I GM a 2e campaign oriented around traveling on mounts through roads where encounters happen. That's really cool. Players and I are tired of nature checks for moving mounts. Any advice on reimagining encounters? My biggest advice for the start of that campaign, and oh my god, Untested Gaming getting on the super chat train. Thank you for the $5. Choo choo, all aboard, I guess. If you wanna keep filling this with red coins, go for it. I appreciate it. So the first thing I would say, Alex Dunn, is give all of your allies the ride feat for free. If your entire campaign is based around mounts, I would give them the ride feat for free. Rolling nature checks every 5 minutes would get very old very quickly. I could see it being fun for like a one-shot, but if you're going to be on mounts the entire campaign, give them the ride feat. Otherwise, for encounters, give them encounters where they need to dismount for whatever reason. Give them encounters where they run into a trap and their mounts get tied up. Give them something where the enemies are so up on a platform that they need to dismount to get up to them. It gets difficult. Give them dungeons that the entrance is small enough that their horses and their mounts can't get in, so they need to go without their mounts. You need. I think the best way to reimagine encounters is either find new ways to use the mounts, or find ways that the mounts will not be helpful. Those are the two big things, big ideas I have off the top of my head, is to push them away from the mounts or push the mounts in a new direction. Hope that helped. My chat keeps falling behind over here. I need to scroll down. Have I ever tested Hero Lab online or for PF2 before? No, I have not. We've been trying to get in contact with Hero Labs to see if I can get like a free trial of their paid version so I can really actually analyze it for the paid version, because I know the paid version of Hero Labs is what everyone uses, which is incredibly what's the word, hypocritical of me. Yeah, I should review the mobile version of Path Builder as well at some point. But yeah, I do want to analyze the paid version of Hero Labs, because I think that's what it's all about. What large size ancestry would I most like to see? I think a Goliath would be fun. A Goliath or an Ogre ancestry would be really interesting. And I'd love to see if small ancestries could ride them, like a tiny one can ride a medium creature. Let's see. Was reading sneak attack rules as I'm about to play a rogue and saw nothing about how many times you can do it in a turn. Sneak attack is infinite. As long as you hit them and they are flat-footed, you sneak attack. So yes, if you hit a flat-footed creature 3 times in one turn, you sneak attack 3 times in one turn. It's brutal. Rogues have some insane damage capability. I love rogues in 2e. So Nonat, in my group we have players that like to challenge the GM a lot. More often than not, it stalls the game and it's very confrontational and doesn't actually help. Are you mentioning like challenging the GM about rules? Because if it stalls the game enough, part of it's on the player and part of it's on the GM. If it keeps stalling the game and the player is arguing with the GM's rules, then it sounds like there's a lack of communication there. If the GM is saying, oh, roll me acrobatics for high jump, and they say, actually you need to be rolling athletics, and then they argue and open up the book, it's tough. Partially, if the players are... Partially the GM should be making 1 or 2 calls right on the spot. Either, even if you're right, we're doing it this way. I am the GM. It's tough to say that, you have to really be upfront about it, but usually as a GM, you have to either say, I'm doing it this way, just so we don't stop the game, because it sounds like it is stopping your game, which is really unfortunate. Alternatively, the GM, if they're really good at looking up rules like I am, can go, okay, new tab, long jump 2E, click on actions, archive of Nethys. Okay, you success, you jump, increase your maximum horizontal distance by a number of feet equal to your DC. Okay, cool. If they're really good at finding a rule fast, I would say look it up. But if the GM, especially if you're playing in person, you have to flip through the whole rule book, I would say that the rules lawyer needs to take a step back. The GM is allowed to say, no, this is how the rule works today. We'll look it up after the game, but this is how it works. So, sounds like the rules lawyer needs to take a step back, and the GM might need to be a little more firm with this is how it plays. We'll look at the actual rule after the session. Because looking afterwards is fine. But it's tough, because, if the rules lawyer is right and the GM is getting a rule wrong, it can come across as very rude. And so there's not a perfect answer here. Ideally, the GM needs to know the rules slightly better, or the rules lawyer needs to take a step back. And again, communicate, talk it out, talk about the issues, and move forward from there. Hey, No Not Ones, how would you balance an ancestry with a dex penalty? That would be interesting. I think I want to say giving them strength as a bonus is a solid makeup. I think like Goliath would probably have a dex penalty, like we talked about a large ancestry. Large ancestries would almost usually probably have a dex penalty. And it's tough because dex is a very important stat. You know, it determines armor class, determines reflex saves, and determines a lot of skills. So it's tough to say how would I balance it. I think it would probably be, yeah, a dex flaw, bonus, like a Goliath would probably be a dex flaw, bonus to strength and constitution, and a free boost. I don't think you would give them anything special for that. If you really, really wanted to balance it, you could give them something like a tough skin feature that allows them to use like their constitution in place of dexterity when it comes to armor class. That would be pretty interesting. I don't know how balanced it would be, but it would be at least, it would get around that dexterity weakness. Yo, Will Swanson, thank you for the $5 super chat. Rules lawyer, meet rules SCOTUS? Don't know what that means, but I bet you were funny. Have ever played a murder mystery clue type campaign? Yes! Yes, one of my favorite TTRPG memories was running a murder mystery for my friends. There was about 12 people, the three players and about 9 NPCs on a boat. And the boat was like a 7-day trip from one port to the other, and I thought a murder mystery would be incredibly fun and interesting. So, you know, they woke up one morning, and the cabin boy had been waterlogged, you know, whatever the term is for tying to the back of a boat, and drug behind the boat. I think it's keel hauling is down and under. But yeah, he was dead being dragged behind the ship. And at that point, they're like, huh, that's probably not good. And they hadn't actually, they didn't like catch on that it was like a serial thing. They didn't know exactly what happened. And so 1 or 2 more bodies wound up, and my players went into full investigation mode. You know, there was no combat or anything yet. It was, okay, everybody is in 3-man groups. Everybody needs to keep an eye on their 2 partners. As long as there's only 1 killer, we know that a 3-man group should be able to outnumber them no matter what happens. And from there, it was very roleplay heavy. It was very who can we trust. And my favorite part of all of this is at one point, each of the players went off with a different group of 2 NPCs. So the players were all separated. So what happened, one of my players went down into the brig with 2 of the NPCs, one of which happened to be the murderer. And what the murderer did is the murderer cast sleep on the player, which failed their saving throw and fell asleep, and then murdered the third person, shapeshifted into somebody else. They shapeshifted into the prisoner who was in the brig, killed the prisoner, and tied themselves up to take the place of the prisoner. And I believe shapeshifted the prisoner's body into their old form. So the player wakes up with 2 dead bodies and the prisoner just staring at him confused. And it was so well crafted and went so perfectly, the player themselves was kind of convinced they might have been the murderer. It was amazing and had so much fun. Eventually they did figure it out. They figured it out. They found her. They detected the transmutation magic in the brig and found her and killed her. But it was so much fun to watch them squirm and watch them try to figure that out. That was one of the longest sessions I ever played. I think we started at like 9 or 10 p.m. and went until about 5 or 6 a.m. because we couldn't stop in the middle. We just kept going. It was a blast. Yo, what's up, Remy? Thanks for stopping in to say hi. Let's see. Supreme Court units. How do you feel about guns in your games? Like, is it muskets only, or can I use a lever action repeater and be a cowboy, or can I use a chain gun? I try to keep it to fantasy guns if I can. You know, those games that do have guns, but they're mostly, you know, flintlocks or muskets, maybe a bolt action. But I typically don't allow Uzis or like actual shotguns. I'll allow like a blunderbuss, but not a full-on shotgun unless I'm playing in that kind of setting. I will allow some technology stretches, you know, like artificers and golems and stuff exist, so why can't a magical gun? But if a gun is going to go beyond basic gunpowder bullets, it's going to be magical in nature. I'm finally here, had a nice game and now a nice stream. Well, hey, Dane Marker, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Climbing is an athletics check. On a crit failure, you fall. On failure, no progress. Crit success is done. Okay, slight tangent. I hate climbing in Pathfinder 2e. I understand why they've done it, but man, is it slow. I really wish a success was like half your speed, because I've played in a one-shot before, and part of that is like a trap that throws players into a 15-foot pit. Well, guess what? You're probably not amazing at climbing. It might not be your best thing. And so in order to get out of the pit, you need to make 3 successes, or, you know, a success and a crit success, just to get back out of the pit. It's awful. And there's things in the pit that attack you and make it more difficult to climb. It is awful, and I feel like climbing should have been doubled in its speed. Either up to half your speed, or like 10 feet on a success, 20 on a crit. Because 5 feet of climbing on a success is really, really rough for the players. It makes it almost almost impossible to use in any kind of any respect. Have I checked out Tailspire? Not yet, but I really, really want to. I plan to. I had an idea for sending the party to travel along with a caravan for a time. The issue is I have no idea how to approach it without making it boring. Depends what your players want. If your players are okay with a slow-paced, roleplay-heavy campaign where they spend a lot of time in the back of a caravan, that won't be boring. What is boring to one person might be incredibly entertaining to another, especially if you're constantly introducing new NPCs, picking up drifters, stopping in places, taking on new people, and building a caravan with constantly adding personalities. That would be a ton of fun. If the entire campaign is like a cross-country caravan trips with ambushes and pit stops and trades and making money, as long as the players have a reason, they will be invested. As long as the players have some stake in the caravan's success, they should be invested and be able to have a good time. Don't be afraid, skip a few hours, maybe skip a few days. Maybe this is a 6-month-long excursion. A lot can happen in 6 months. A lot of cool things, fake paths, misdirections, taking wrong turns. You can get really creative with a caravan campaign. So just make sure they have a reason to want to do it. A big mistake people will make is they'll start a long campaign, and at level 1, they'll be like, oh, if you do this, if you escort this caravan for 6 months, we'll give you 500 gold, which for a level 1 character is like, yes, that's so much money, I would love to do it for 500 gold. But halfway through the adventure, if they're only halfway there and they're level 9 now, 500 gold is nothing to a level 9 character. So there is an issue with that. You should definitely think about the reward for the players being more akin to what level they will be rather than what level they are, because otherwise they might just abandon it or integrate it into their backstory. Maybe one of the characters is running the caravan, or like it belongs to them or their family, and that way they have an emotional reason to tag along. Just make sure they don't want to leave the caravan. Question, what is a favorite thing of yours to put in a dungeon? Traps. Really interesting traps. I'm not talking your casual swinging scythe blades or random explosions or anything like that. I'm talking magical glyphs of warding. Pathfinder 2e has some amazing hazards. Some of there's water that when you look in, or I think it's supposed to be a mirror, but I flavored it as haunted water, that when you look in, you see yourself like hurting yourself in your reflection, and it actually deals negative damage to you when you stare at it. And there's some really cool things like that. So I'll add, a full room you need to get through with this magical water in it, where you can't look away without a good will save, but I also allow people to get creative, if people are like, okay, I'm just gonna blindfold myself and let people guide me, perfect. I love when my players get creative and think outside the rules on how to conquer something like that. So get creative with your hazards. Get inspiration from the rulebook and all the cool hazards in there. And similar to monsters, don't be afraid to reflavor them, retexture them. Even if they're way too high a level to actually use with your party, just change the stats. Typically, you can get away. If your characters are level 5 and you want to use a level 15 trap on them, just reduce all the DCs, all the bonuses, everything by like 10, maybe 12 or 13 to be on the safe side. And then you can use it with them. You can use any trap with any level so long as you adjust it correctly. So hazards are my favorite thing to use. They're way more interesting to me than typical encounters, and hazards that summon enemies are like the best of both worlds. Yeah, Paul, haunts are one of my favorite to use. I believe that mirror that attacks you is considered a haunt, and it's a ton of fun. And then it made the... Okay, Glyph of Warding is so much fun. I just don't like magic or energy guns. Give me this classic with the wood grip. Oh, give me a classic gun with the wood grip. Totally fair, yeah. Dragons or Linorms, if you had to have one. Linorms are really interesting. I haven't used one yet, but they are really cool in design. Dragons are just classic, and I do enjoy using dragons. The hard part about dragons in Pathfinder 2e is just how many attacks they get. Even a weak little low-level dragon can attack like 5 or 6 times in a round. It's insane. So be careful with your dragons. Make sure you analyze your party correctly, or you might accidentally TPK them with an appropriate encounter. As a DM, what makes you most nervous? The 1 hour before my session. Once I'm playing, I'm fine. But the single full hour before my session starts is what makes me the most nervous. I get anxious. I get these weird nerves, even though I'm already prepared. I have everything written. My players are there to have a good time. For some reason, I just get these pre-show jitters. Same thing I used to get when I would perform on stage as a theater major, as an actor. I just get this, even as on stage, I know my lines, I know my blocking, I know what I can do, and I've done it 100 times, but for some reason, I'm like, what if something goes wrong? What if they don't have fun? What if they don't enjoy themselves? What if I screw something up? That all perpetuates in my head for the whole hour or two before the session starts, and then 2 minutes into the session, I'm good. It's gone, I don't even think about it anymore, and it just goes. I have no idea what it is, I have no idea why it happens. Same thing actually happens when I stream, too, The hour before I went live here, especially with the technical difficulties, I was nervous, I'm like, I know things are going to be fine, but I don't know. It's just something with my brain. And I know other people feel that way, too, so, Oriad Shield build. What class? Personally, I would say champion for shield stance and shield ally, but what is your opinion? If you want to go like a classic, just a straight-up normal classic shield bearer, champion's obviously the best way to go. You get the best armor, you get the shield, it's easy to make and it makes a lot of sense. However, if you want to get super creative, you can make a shield-based monk. Now, I don't think you can, I think I was wrong that you can't stack it with mountain stance. Because way back when I first started, I know I tried to make a mountain stance, because that's a +4, yeah, that's right, +4 item bonus from mountain stance, and shields are also an item bonus. So you can't stack it with mountain stance. But a shield monk can be a ton of fun. Shield monk is... Oh, no, shield is... No, shield is circumstance. No, wait, that's... I'm looking at the spell. Yeah, I forget. I'm trying to find it. Shield base. I think shields are item bonuses. Yeah, I can't find it right now, but I'm pretty sure it's an item bonus. But yeah, a shield monk can be a ton of fun, especially because they get legendary with unarmored. You don't even need to wear armor. Hike up that dexterity. I think you can take crane stance, which might grant you a circumstance bonus to AC. You can do a lot of fun with a shield monk. Hold on, I saw my boy Zedrin in here. What is up, dude? How's it going, Zedrin? Idea. Alchemical firearms. Simple, uncommon weapon, Greek fire. I don't know what Greek fire is, but there is an alchemical crossbow in, I think it's Plaguefall, not Plaguefall, whatever that adventure is. I can't remember the name of it. You guys will say it. Shields are circumstance. Shields are item. I see both comments. Greek fire is like primitive napalm. Oh, okay. That'd be interesting, yeah. Yeah, there's already an alchemical crossbow, but I do Plague Stone, that's the one. Plaguefall, yeah, alchemical crossbow already exists, so alchemical firearms could be fun. I think that would be a lot of fun. There's definitely some ideas there, like an alchemical grenade launcher would be really fun. Maybe increase the splash radius, or maybe increase the splash damage would be really, really neat. Phantom Prince dropping another $5. Oh my word. How much money do I have to donate for you to build me a full-on custom class and send it to you at your leisure? It's something that'll probably happen in the future, but I don't have a price for that right now. I have plans for my homebrew that I want to use in the future, so I don't want to make anything just for a single person, but patience. You can pay me in patience, and the custom class will come. I don't know when, but it will happen. I want to play a Hexblade Warlock that has a gun as their packed weapon. When it fires, it's a magical bullet. You ever watched Fate? I think the gun that Emiya Kirutsugu has. I did watch Fate a long time ago. Like 3 years. A Hexblade Warlock I don't know enough about 5e to talk about the Hexblade, but I do think that's a fine idea. I was just talking to someone the other day, actually, about taking a staff and flavoring it as a firearm that can only shoot out the spells in the staff. You know, you wouldn't even have to mechanically change anything, but, you know, make a gun that shoots magic missiles and just function it as a staff. You know, the item is just a staff, and boom, you've got it. You know, probably still use staff proficiency, you know, for like a staff thesis wizard, but that would be a really easy way to give you a magical gun that shoots spells without having to change anything mechanically. Yo, what's up, Taco Sun? Hopping in mid-work to send some love and wish luck. Yo, no luck needed. We've been freaking hopping in here. We've been over 100 viewers almost the entire stream, so thank you all for coming out today. This has been a blast. We've got another freaking hour in here, dude. Let's go. All right. I was wrong. Shields are circumstance bonuses? Oh. Then yeah. No, Mountain Stance Monk with a shield is hilarious. There are certain things that don't stack. I know later on in the build, there's certain feats later on, but yeah, Mountain Stance Monk with a shield can have some crazy armor class. Let's see. Oh, what's up, Nathan? What are we doing, dude? There should be a sling. Oh, you should be able to use bombs in a sling. That'd be awesome. Just use your sling proficiency to throw the bomb. That would be really, really cool. I would dig that. Shooting Star Magus lets you imbue bullet. Oh, that's true. If you took... well, it's going to depend... Actually, yeah, no, because firearms are going to be martial weapons? Or are they all... They might all be advanced. I can't remember. But yeah, if you're a Shooting Star Magus that can use guns, you can shoot... You can definitely do spell bullets. The Wand of Killing. It's just a regular gun in a low fantasy setting. Any ideas for alchemical items? That one's tough, Jacoby Jones. There's tons of alchemical items that have yet to be made. The hard part is just coming up with them. I do want to make a lot of new ones. I kind of want to release a mini supplement that adds a bunch more. Again, the hard part will just be sitting down and hammering them out. I have added the new ones for my Chef Alchemist subclass. You can find on my Patreon. But yeah, those are meals and snacks, which are different. As far as bombs, there definitely needs to be more elixirs. But as far as bombs and mutagens go, there's still a lot more they can do with that, I think. What are your thoughts on running sandbox campaign? I've wanted to, but I wouldn't know how to drive it. Sandbox campaigns are some of my favorite way to play. However, your players need to know it's a sandbox and be okay with that. The easiest way to categorize players, and it's not quite this black and white, but there are proactive players and reactive players. And if you GM a table, you already know who's who in your group. Proactive players will seek out leads. They'll seek out adventure. They will look for something to do because they want to find something to do. And these are often the players who take up, I'll say, a majority of the roleplay because they're very forward. They're not afraid to jump in and try to make something happen. Now, I'm not saying this is better or worse than reactive players. Reactive players, we all know them, they aren't quite as ready to jump into roleplay. They aren't quite as ready to make something happen, but once they are involved, once something pulls them in, they are just as invested as a proactive player. So that's why it's good for your table to have a little bit of both. A proactive player to make something happen, and also pull the reactive player in with them. That being said, if your table is primarily reactive players, do not run a sandbox campaign. If your players are all reactive or mostly reactive, and you say, you wake up on a beach, what do? They're all gonna kind of be like, is there sand? But, meanwhile, if your table is almost all proactive players, like my group, and you say, you are on a beach, what do? The proactive players might be like, do I see any islands on the horizon? Can I find any washed up equipment? Are there any other bodies on the beach? Is there what does it look like upland? Is it forest? Is it rolling hills? What are we looking at here? That's the kind of player I am. I'm very proactive. I'm constantly looking at what's in my surroundings, what can I use, what can I do next? Whereas I believe pre-written adventure pads are great for reactive players because the story is built to pull them along in the right direction. There's still freedom to explore, which reactive players, I'm not saying they don't love exploration. However, reactive players usually need a hook. That's why the plot hook exists. Think of them as fish in a pond, and you waggle that plot hook, and they'll grab it. Meanwhile, proactive players are in that fish, and they're jumping out of the water like, where? What's next? The proactive players are the fish that jump out of the water and land in your fishing boat before you've even gotten your rod out. Will Swanson, thank you for another $5 freaking, guys. You're too generous. Halfling exclusive sling staff, alchemist archetype. Let's go. Dude, I want to make an archetype that's all about, like, weird weapons, crafting your own weapons. I guess that's already kind of the inventor, which would be tough. I'm so curious what the inventor archetype is going to give us. Let's see. Alchemical homunculus is just flubber. Yeah, basically. The problem is when the proactive player is scared of overshadowing reactive players. That can often lead to those awkward silences at the table. I've definitely been there, where as a proactive player, I feel like I've made the last 5 or 6 decisions. So the GM will ask something, and I'll sit there biting my tongue like, I have something to say, but Marianne over here hasn't made a decision in a while, so I'm not going to step up. And then it kind of gets awkward and quiet and forces that GM to be like, well, okay, I guess this happens next. And those moments plague every table. You're not good or bad if they happen to you, you know. It's just part of going through the motions. Why can't I just play a magic cowboy? Think of the man with no name mixed with Gandalf, and that's what we're going for. Also, he's aggressively British. What is what is British cowboy Gandalf? A gunslinger arrives exactly when he means to. I don't know, I can't do that. Amazing answer. Proactive versus reactive is most definitely the way to say it. I never thought of it that way. I think I just have a lot of reactive players. One of these days I'll find my squad for it. Exactly, yeah. Like, as much as we all have these 5,000 different campaign ideas we want to play and we want to run for people, you do still want to cater your campaign selection to your players, you know? If your players are looking for a socializing campaign where they can play as high nobility, going to tea time and occasionally doing the rare combat, don't put them in the middle of a war campaign against warring sides where they're enemies with everybody and constantly in combat, you know? Your players aren't going to have a good time, they're not going to be as invested, they're not going to want to do anything, and you're going to have a lot more of those awkward what next moments. Gundalf the Gunmetal Grey. I ask this in a time of great need. To any of you artists out there, please draw Gundalf. Please draw Gundalf and tag me on Twitter. I need this in my life. Wand of Manifold Missile is incredible. Wand of Manifold Missiles is one of the most creative items in any game, and I love it. It's Ian McKellen, not sure what costume to use on Halloween. Yo, what's up, Andrea? How would you feel about Inquisitor as a cleric doctrine instead of a full class? I think that's what we're going to get. Inquisitor is either going to be a cleric doctrine or an archetype, and I think it would work well as a cleric doctrine. The hard part would be what to do with it. I don't know Inquisitor well enough because I didn't play first edition, but I think a zealot style class, which I think is what the Inquisitor is meant to be, for cleric would be a lot of fun. I'd love to see Inquisitor as a doctrine. I also think War Priest needs a bit of an overhaul. It's tough, Zedrin. War Priest, I've actually put some thought into it, and if you give War Priest mastery and weapon, they would actually be the single strongest martial class in the game, at high levels specifically. And that's because if you are, I believe, a level 17 War Priest, and you have Master in weapons, you can cast Heroism 3 on yourself, and suddenly you are more accurate than a fighter. Now, granted, you can also cast this on your fighter and make them completely broken. So it's hard to say whether that would be imbalanced or not. But they would be the most self-sufficient one-man army in the game. They would be more accurate than other martial classes, dealing pretty solid damage, able to heal themselves and buff themselves, and they just have so much going for them, and that's why Paizo was very careful not to overbuff the proficiencies of the War Priest. This does, however, make the War Priest incredibly weak from levels 1 to 10. Once they get 6th level spells, things like Heightened Heroism, they catch up. They catch up hard. But up to that point, it's rough. Woodpecker, hello? Do you want to say hi to the stream? Look at this guy. Hold on. Look at this guy. Look at this thing. Do you see him? He keeps knocking on my window. Oh my word. Those are the precious birds who interrupt every single video I do, so it's natural they'd interrupt a stream. Thing is with War Priest versus Cloistered Cleric, if you grab Champion Dedication, you literally get every single proficiency War Priest gets. True. Yeah, absolutely true, and it's not okay. No, that is totally fair. Chuck T for the Woodpecker. Let's see. As a GM, I never want to give out items as treasure. I'd rather give gold and let players buy what they want. What are your thoughts on this? There's merit to both ways. If you only give your players gold, then yeah, they get to buy whatever they want. And if your players already have items in mind, that's not a bad thing. However, there's merit to be given for players finding something they didn't know they needed. It's really fun to find an item in a chest and, you know, like a wand of manifold missiles, an item that maybe the party didn't even think of, but, you know, they decide to keep it anyway. You know, it can be a ton of fun. And what's really satisfying, this is weirdly satisfying, this is a weird guilty pleasure of mine as a GM, is giving the party a magic item they don't need. For example, an enchanted weapon that none of them tend to use. And this gets them thinking, you know, we could transfer the runes off of this, or we could sell it for money, or especially if it's a really rare kind of item, the party might hang on to it anyway, almost as a trophy, and they don't feel cheated by that. You know, we don't want this super powerful weapon or this super powerful wand falling into the wrong hands, so we're gonna go ahead and keep it. So I do like giving out items over gold, and I usually will, and I'll often keep an eye on my party and be like, okay, the fighter with his glaive proficiency hasn't gotten a new glaive in a while, I'll probably give him a new glaive. Or, as people said in the comments of my GM Mistakes video, don't be afraid to give them a different weapon with the runes they're looking for, and then when they get back to town, they can transfer the runes over to their primary weapon and upgrade it. What is your best idea you ever stole, in your opinion? For me, it was a heist I stole where a mage stole money with a group of thugs and used a lock spell to escape. Ooh, best idea I ever stole. That's a tough one, because I do steal a lot. Problem is I haven't been GMing as often as I usually do. Right now, I'm pretty much only GMing for my patrons. Best idea I ever stole. In one of my Patreon campaigns, and they've already caught on, I basically stole the Final Fantasy final boss structure for the climax of our campaign. You know, multiple phases, absolutely insane, fighting in like a different dimension, way over the top, you know, form changing between phases. It's actually been a ton of fun, and it's been super overwhelming for them in a good way. You know, they were fighting on a platform in a void, and when one of them was knocked off the platform, they fell all the way down, and then like reappeared in the sky and slammed back down on the platform, taking a ton of falling damage. It was a really cool twist. And so when you do, I stole that what the hell is happening idea from the Final Fantasy final bosses. I love those fights. Do you think an espionage spy-based racket for rogues would be a good idea? Somewhat yes. The hard part would be not making it overlap with the thief. The thief itself is already incredibly dexterous and gets trained in thievery, so that's already what the spy would do. So unfortunately, you would have to do a lot more with a spy, and I think spy would work better as an archetype that gives, you know, trained in thievery and some bonuses to stealth and sneaking. Unfortunately, giving it to rogue as a racket probably wouldn't work out that well. It would just overlap with the thief too hard. Killian Holt with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Want to say thank you for you made the last hour of work and transit home much better. Yo, have a good weekend and happy gaming to you as well, Killian. I appreciate that. I'll actually be having a game to play an hour after this, so I appreciate that. That'll be a lot of fun. Thank you. We're actually in the final dungeon. We have like a session. This might be the final session. There's probably one more session next week before the end of my campaign where I'm playing a fighter, so that'll be fun. I feel like Mastermind already fits for Spy. That's true, too. Yeah, Spies and Espionage are all about analysis and identification, so Mastermind does sort of fit that role anyway. I feel like if you want to play a Spy, your best bet is to pick Thief or Mastermind, and go with either the analytical side or the stealthy thievery side of being a Spy. Combining both is tough. But you're a rogue, so you're going to be legendary in everything anyway. Has there ever been a class that loses class abilities later on? What level, Galarian in depth? I believe we're level 9 right now. I think we're gonna end at level 10. No, we are level 10. We just hit level 10. Psionics is the best character class? I'm not a fan of Psionics. I think they're overrated, and often not well balanced. So it's tough to say. I've never played one. I've never had a player who played one. They also just don't scream fantasy to me. They're a little too sci-fi. Has there ever been a class that loses abilities later on? Not really. At least not in anything I've played. I think it would be a cool feature, is a class that dynamically changes halfway through. The problem then is if you want to play the class post-change and you don't like how it starts, you kind of have to suffer through that, and that's not great game design. Ideally, the class plays mostly the same way throughout, and you augment and adjust it as you level up, but they don't ever lose anything. Leveling up and losing a feature would be rough. Let's see. Would you consider doing a dedicated video series for GM advice, similar to the beginner's guide videos, how to prep villains dungeons? I wanted to do that for a while. I tried doing it last week with my super chill vlog style video, but I don't think people watched that one as much because of the weird thumbnail and the weird presentation in front of that. I'm not going to do that again. More of an experimental thing. I do want to do more GM style videos. The hard part is how. Because being a GM, as weird as it sounds, is not mechanically intensive. You know, aside from knowing the basics of how the game works, the mechanics don't affect you as a GM much more. And the hard part is that as a GM, so much of what I do, I just do naturally without thinking. I'm not. It sounds like a weird flex, but I promise it's not. It's explaining how I do things is difficult and hard to write a script around. So yes, I would love to make dedicated GM advice videos, but the hard part is that they're all going to be very opinionated. You know, I can only make so many videos about here's how you make a monster, because for the most part, I just take monsters from the bestiary and maybe change a stat or two and call it good. Again, a lot of them are like that video I uploaded last week, which was, you know, when is it okay for the GM to butt in? Because I think those non-rules oriented pieces of advice are more important than the actual rules. Because as a GM, the rules are whatever you want them to be. You can change them however you want. The best advice that I can give is how to mess with those intangible meta, how to actually run a game advice, which are a little bit harder to think of. The 1E Brawler could pick combat feats on the fly, similar to how fighters are now. Wait, on the fly? Like whenever they want? Because I know fighters can do that during daily preparations in 2E. I don't know about on the fly. Psionics do work well for aberrant monsters, yeah. Mind flayers and whatnot are really cool. Chad Hale, please do not self-plug in my chat, thank you. What do you think about the Animal Instinct beast? Do you mean the Barbarian, Nicholas? Because Animal Instinct Barbarian is one of my favorite subclass, class combinations, whatever, in the game. Animal Instinct is so cool, it is so versatile, you can do so much, and it is just insane. Also, Nathan, why haven't I made you a mod yet? What am I doing? Moderator. There you go, Nathan. Ah, you're a mod. Thank you, Chad, appreciate it. But yeah, no, Animal Instinct, anything with that kind of choice. It's the same reason I love Wild Shape as a druid, the Wild Order. Being able to turn into a bunch of different monsters is just, well, I guess not a bunch of different, but being able to choose right at the start a unique creature you can turn into, and how you only like half shapeshift. You know, if you're a bear, you just grow bear jaws when you rage. It's just so cool. They're insane damage resistance at higher levels with the animal skin feat. It's all so cool. I love Animal Instinct. The best way a class that changes significantly partway through would make them transform permanently and make their subclass take effect more. That's true, yeah. If at like level 11 a barbarian became much more of their class, I guess the best example of that would be like a Draconic Instinct barbarian taking the Dragon Disciple archetype and going headfirst into that. Similar to that, yeah, would be a good way to do that. But it's tough to do that in a base class. Watch Matt Colville if you want to see a GM advice type presenter. Might get some ideas. I've actually been meaning to. Yeah, no, I've heard know a lot of people love Matt Colville. I've been meaning to look a lot more into his stuff. I noticed you have the Abominations book in some of your videos. Are you running it? We are starting to run it, I believe, next Tuesday. I'm so excited. We're all getting vaccinated. Well, we all are vaccinated. I'm the only one who's not fully vaccinated. I'm getting my second shot in like a few weeks. So starting next Tuesday, we are going to start playing that in person, and I am so excited. Because I've run the first chapter of Abomination Vaults, like the first half of the first chapter with some friends who had never played Pathfinder. It was a ton of fun, so I'm super hyped to run the whole thing. This is too much power for you? Probably. About GM advice, I'd like some tips on running combat. It can get pretty crunchy, and I sometimes lose track of all the abilities and persistent effects creatures have. Develops, that's a very common problem. Your best bet would be to analyze your creatures before combat and give them like a one sentence before you even run the session, or, you know, if you say take 5 before combat, give them one sentence that describes their combat style. For example, I just ran a combat with 2 vampires in one of my campaigns. Actually, I think Will's in that campaign. So yeah, I ran one with 2 vampires, and in my notes, it said, this vampire will usually cast offensive spells and try to harm the party, while this vampire will focus on casting support and buff spells on the other vampire. So when their turn comes up, I already know, okay, he's going to use Lightning Bolt, he's going to use Haste. That's most of their turn. Okay, he's hasted now. He'll use Lightning Bolt and follow it up with a move and a strike action with his claw. It's a lot harder with enemies that have spells. My best advice: try not to outnumber the players with monsters. Use bigger monsters, not more monsters. If you want to use a ton of monsters, use the troop rules and reskin some of the troops that already exist. Because once there are more monsters than players, then the players don't get to play as much as the GM. It slows down combat. And sure, combats tend to be easier if there's more players than monsters, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if they're fighting higher level stuff. Saving throws will fail, or attack rolls will miss, and it'll balance out, trust me. Nice, Melody. Glad to hear you got your first vaccine. Congrats on in-person gaming soon. Thank you, I'm so excited. Let's see. So what would be some fun ideas you do with a Lich? Funny you say that, Killian, because we've been running a Lich, and unfortunately, I can't talk about it too much because Will is here in the chat, and he is in the campaign that next Saturday is going to be fighting that Lich. He's been the big bad around them the entire campaign. What I can say is what I've done up to this point. I have had the Lich astral project himself to talk directly to the party and threaten them, to convince them to leave, and the most fun I had, they're stuck on an island with this Lich. And so, over the past few in-game days, he has put out sort of an aura of dread, which has inflicted a permanent, unavoidable, doomed condition on the party. Everybody, except for I think one of them, are currently doomed to permanently. So if they go down and fail a death save, their character is dead. Nobody has died yet, but one of their characters they went down. They were dying 1, and they are currently still wounded, or not anymore, because they healed after the fight. But yeah, they went down, they got back up, they were wounded 1. So if they went down a second time in that fight, their character would have been dead. If they didn't get a really lucky stabilize check from their familiar, they very well might have died. So get creative, do a lot of cool stuff. Liches are so powerful. Even if an ability doesn't exist on paper, don't be afraid to make it up. It can cause some really cool tension. Dude, Doomed is so fun, Chad. I love the Doomed condition. It is not used enough. Let's see. Is there a limit to the form alchemist familiars can take? Technically, yes. Technically, alchemical familiars have to be a homunculus. I don't like this rule. I think an alchemical familiar that's a rat would be neat. Never be afraid to ask your GM. Like, if I had an alchemist who's like, can it be a homunculus that just takes the form of a rat? And I'd be like, sure. It's like a goopy little rat with, like, pustules and syringes. I think it'd be neat. Thank you for another $5, Will. No, by all means, talk about the Lich. I did, but it's nothing you didn't already know. Problem with many monsters is Fireball. I almost specifically avoid Fireball if I can. I used it in my last session just because the party had grouped up in a really unfortunate way, but for the most part, I try to avoid using Fireball on monsters, even if they have it, because it just doesn't feel like a fun spell to be hit by. Fireball is almost impossible to avoid, strictly due to the insane range. 20-foot radius is nuts. It's absolutely insane. 40 feet across. Effectively, if your party member is less than 40 feet from you, you're going to take fireball damage. But if they're more than 30 feet from you, you can't cast heal. So it punishes you for playing the game the way it's meant to be played, and I'm not a fan of that. Much more fan of something like Lightning Bolt. If the party members accidentally lined up in a straight line, I will definitely punish that. Let's see. Do you have any tips for preparing to run pre-written modules? Read ahead. Read farther ahead than you think you need to. If you're going to run something pre-written, make sure you understand where the story is going. It'll help you in improving and working around what your party members might ask as questions and knowing what characters might know. Speaking from experience, a lot of adventure paths have characters that are designed to talk to the players and give them information when in reality they know way more than just what's written there. The character might reveal they know something, in the second or third chapter of the adventure, even though they knew it back at the start. So don't tell them this information, but knowing that information will give you more reason to know how this character will react. You'll know possibly why they're hiding this information, and it just gives you more info on how this character is as a whole. If you're going to be running the first chapter of an adventure path, maybe read halfway through chapter 2 as well. Read ahead, get some idea of what's to come. It'll help you prepare and also lead your players in the right direction. Hopefully that helps. If you had to play in a game where you play as a pre-existing character, who would you pick? I would probably want to play in a Shaolin Showdown campaign. I would probably want to play as Raimundo from Shaolin Showdown. I don't know if anybody here even knows about that show, but Raimundo is awesome. He's super cool. He's a flawed, well-written character, and it's just a ton of fun. I would love to play in that world. Tons of magic items, they're effectively all playing as monks, but very different monks. I think that would be my dice. I think that would be a ton of fun to play. I would love to play in a Shaolin Showdown campaign as Raimundo. Or you can have your grunts use the shove action. Yes. Yeah, no. Enemies using shove, grab, and trip are super memorable. It can really change the game. Being able to push, pull, or knock your players prone can really screw them over in a really fun way. You don't feel cheated because they're the ones who failed against the athletics check. But yeah, it's a blast to turn the fight on its head. $10 with the $2 super chat. Thanks, Nona. Hey, thank you for the $2. Thank you for asking your question. I appreciate all 112 of y'all coming out today to support me and enjoy the stream. And yeah, it's been a blast, y'all. Get After also dropping $2. Who's your favorite Pathfinder iconic? That's a tough one. I mean, the problem is I don't know a lot of them by name. Thumbus is always great. I'm not the biggest fan, but I do find him adorable. Valeros, for how cliched he is still enjoyable. I think it's a tie between Meridia and what's her name? Her wife now. The cleric. Someone help me out here. It's Meridia, the rogue, and the cleric, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. The chat delay. Nobody's responding. What's the name? I could just look it up, but that's not fair. That's cheating. What is her name? Mariciel, not Meridia. You're right, Mariciel. No, Seoni and Amiri are, I believe, the witch and the sorceress. Kyra! That's the one! Shout out, yes, Andrea and Fruits Punch and Zandala. Yes, Kyra and Mariciel are freaking adorable. I love their chemistry. I love how they work together. I need to read the comics, because I know there's some really awesome Pathfinder comics out there, so yes. Probably a tie between Kyra and Mariciel. If I had to choose, I'd probably pick Mariciel. I heard Meridia and thought Meridia like in Metroid. Dude, I need to play a Metroid game again. I need to get the Metroid Prime collection because I never beat 1 or 2, and I need to see if Metroid Prime 3 is as good as I remember. I would love to play that. There are comics. Dude, Zandala, do yourself a favor. Look up Pathfinder comics. There's so many of them. All of the Iconics have their own comics. Not all of them. And Thumbus is actually about to get his own comic soon. So get hyped for that. The Kickstarter's live. Much love from Brazil. You're the best. Yo, Vinicius, nah, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming out. You didn't have to, but you did. I appreciate that. Nona, have you read the online... Sorry if I keep doing this. My microphone is right here, and the chat is behind it, so I need to keep looking around my mic. Have I read the online comic Kill 6 Billion Demons? Throne the Corpse City at the Center of the Universe. I have not. I've never even heard of that. I'll have to jot that down for later. Kill 6 Billion Demons. That's an amazing name. Whenever I hear any words vaguely like Meridia, I always think of Horizon Zero Dawn. I haven't played it, but I heard it was disappointing. Not because it was bad, but because it had so much more potential. How would you make a Metroidvania-style TTRPG game? That would be tough, and I don't think making specifically Metroidvania as a TTRPG would make the most sense. It would function better as a board game. However, if you want to do what you can do with that is take that mindset of dungeon design from Metroidvanias and use that in your dungeon design in your game. You know, they need to get through a door, but this door is locked by these magical things. Well, maybe later in the dungeon, they get the item that can destroy these magical things. You know, they find the key, they find the power-up, maybe even a magic item that lets them do that. So don't be afraid to steal the Metroidvania design style, but making a game that is strictly Metroidvania would be tough. Your best bet would be doing it as a mega dungeon that requires you to explore, find upgrades, and use those upgrades as requirements to proceed. Let's see. Time to go play Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Have fun, Killian. I've heard great things about Mass Effect. I honestly couldn't tell you about the iconics because I don't really care for the setting, just the system. That's fair. I loved your Warrior collab video. When is the Barbarian one coming out? Warrior collab. Do you mean the one I did with Deadly D8? With the builds and stuff? That was a lot of fun. I don't know about the Barbarian one yet. I do want to get back to that series at some point. I just don't know when. Yeah, Metroidvanias are basically mega dungeons. You're not wrong there. Would you be interested in playing a game that is like Castlevania? So old 50s Warner Brother monster movies, but with grim, dark style. We were fighting the creatures of the night as Dracula? Yeah. And Dracula. Yeah, no, that would be a ton of fun. A gothic horror RPG would be great. Especially one where you actually have a fighting chance. Yeah, because obviously you can do that with like Call of Cthulhu or whatever. But doing a gothic horror where you are like vampire slayers would be a ton of fun. If a player gets both a familiar and an animal companion, would you ever allow them to make it into one animal with restrictions? Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have no problem with that. You just have to make sure it's balanced and make sure they can't do anything too cheeky with it. I don't know if there's any game-breaking things you could do with that combo, but it's possible. Have I played the Kingmaker game? I played like the first hour. I keep planning to stream it, and then I don't. Let's see. Resident Evil Village is made like a TTRPG campaign. Really? Maybe I'll have to watch that. Because I have not done that yet. I have not watched anyone play through Resident Evil, and I haven't played it myself because I'm a baby. But apparently it's really good, and everyone loves big, tall vampire lady. Would a Metroidvania TTRPG have one-shot, one-kill mechanics? I don't think any TTRPG should have one-shot, one-kill mechanics. Unless they can, like, they would need to be really, really rough. Like the existing ones, like Disintegrate, which is if it kills you, and you, or like if it hits you, and you crit fail your fortitude save, and you have less than this many hit points, then it's one shot, one kill. Like, there needs to be so many fail safes, because once your players can be one shot, one killed, they're not going to want to be invested in their characters. If they know they can lose everything to like one bad or lucky dice roll, they will not want to get attached to anything. Let's see. Ustalav equals Gothic Horror. Is Ustalav the one with Plaguefall, or is that a location in Galarian? I don't know. Stream, please. Maybe. I haven't decided yet. I keep saying I will, but I've never gotten around to it. I'm worried about streaming video games again, because I did it for a living for 2 years, and after a while, it did kill gaming for me. Because all my time spent gaming was on stream, so I never got to enjoy video games for myself. And once I stopped streaming and let like a month pass, I forgot how much fun gaming could be. I still love sharing it with people. Like, gaming and talking to you guys is super fun. I just want to make sure I do it right and not in a way that will hurt myself. Draconic Sorcerer is best sorcerer. Deny? It probably has the single mechanically strongest blood magic with the +1 to AC. But there's some solid ones out there. I mean, any of the primal sorcerers are pretty strong. Draconic is really good, though. It's definitely up there. Follow-up question. Castlevania with cowboys? Yes. Do it. Make it happen. Kingmaker is fun. You should get it. Get to it before Wrath of the Righteous is out. Also, the 2E update. Wait, they're doing a 2E update to Kingmaker? Hold on. I'm looking this up. Wait, I've never heard this. Kingmaker 2E? What? Oh, or do you mean the actual adventure path? I think you mean the adventure path. You mean the adventure path. Not the video game. You mean the adventure path, don't you? Because they would have to rework the entire... Oh, you got me so excited, Forger. You got me so excited. Because that's the biggest thing that's been holding me back, is in order to play Kingmaker, you need to know how Pathfinder 1st Edition works. And for the most part, I don't, especially all the fancy classes, so I haven't gotten super into it. Man, if they released a 2E update that completely overhauled the rules, that would be so fun. Okay, But yeah, no, Kingmaker I definitely want to play at some point. Where were we? Okay. Hey Nona, how you doing? I love Pathfinder. My friend got me into Starfinder. I want to play Starfinder so bad. I have not played it yet. It looks so cool. And it's just Pathfinder in space, and I love it. There's not really much else to say. The races are cool, the worlds are cool, the traps and monsters are cool. Let me show you this, guys. Come here. Come with me. You can't follow me, can you? All right, I'll bring it to you. Like, I got this for free because Paizo loves me, and I love Papa Paizo. The Alien Archives for Starfinder are so freaking cool. Whoa! Putting that on hold. Pillis with a €20 donation. Wow. What is your opinion about switch hitters in Pathfinder 2e? Are they viable? Depends what you mean by a switch hitter. Do you mean like a character who has multiple weapon options or multiple combat styles? I guess I need to know what you mean by that. Because if you're talking about multiple combat styles, absolutely. Because, you know, fighters especially have some feats that are built in for that. That you can take multiple different types of feats for different weapons. And sure, you'll only be legendary in one of them. But, you know, if you are legendary in bows, but then your enemies get close to you, you can drop the bow, draw your sword, and start fighting with that. In melee and range, oh, absolutely. The best characters at this are fighters and rangers. Rangers especially are incredible switch hitters. Because with Flurry, you just need to have an agile weapon. So sure, or even precision. Honestly, any ranger can be a switch hitter. As long as your prey is hunted, it doesn't matter as much what weapon you're using. Flurry is the exception since it needs to be, I believe, an agile weapon. No, it doesn't. No, it just, yeah, no. Any ranger can be a switch hitter. Ranger is the ultimate class for switch hitters. They can apply their precision damage with any weapon. They can apply their flurry, multiple attack bonus penalty reduction to any weapon. And yeah, if you get up close to a ranger, they can drop their bow, draw their sword, and be just as effective. In fact, compared to fighters, who are only the best with one weapon, rangers are equal with all of their weapons. So yeah. So, Ranger as a switch hitter is a fantastic idea for a build. Thank you so much for the generous donation, Pills. I hope that answered your question. I want Starfinder 2e. I think that'll happen probably in like 3 or 4 years. It'll be interesting to see how they change it, because I've heard they're taking a lot of 2e stuff and putting that into Starfinder. Where's the T? The T is in the box over there, in the kitchen. Have you had anyone play the Toxicologist Alchemist? I have made one, and we were going to play, and then somebody canceled the one-shot, and I was so sad. I still want to play my Toxicologist, specifically with a blowgun. I want to play the blowgun Toxicologist, because I think it's going to be so cool. Can't wait to actually run Starfinder again. Dude, I'm Cedric, I'm just saying, if you need a player to play in Starfinder, I mean, I guess I can take time out of my busy schedule. Switch hitters as in bards who attempt to seduce both dragons and drakes. Oh my word. The bards play for both teams. Rogues can't be good at switching from agile. Is that supposed to be can? Because yeah, actually rogues make a good switch hitter too, because they can sneak attack with ranged and melee. So yeah, another good example of switch hitters. Bose Einstein. You're speaking words I don't understand, Chad Hill. My brain is too small. What do you think they will update in the Magus class? I think they will make it more similar to the Eldritch Archer. The hard part that Paz is going to have to figure out is a way to make one of them not necessarily better than the other. Eldritch Archer in its current state is incredibly powerful, and compared to the playtest of Magus, Eldritch Archer is stronger than Magus, and that is a problem. An archetype should never be stronger than a class. The problem being, Eldritch Archer as an archetype is so powerful that if they make the Magus stronger than it, they risk making the Magus better than every other class in the game. So they are in a really awkward design corner because of how good the Eldritch Archer is. Max level fighter is legendary. That's true. I forgot. Yeah, level 19 fighters are legendary with everything, but let's be honest. No campaign gets to 20 unless it's designed to play at 20. You did, thank you. I was thinking Flurry Ranger with 2-weapon warrior archetype. That would be a ton of fun. So what one of my players in tonight's campaign is actually, he's a dwarf Flurry Ranger with 2 returning hand axes and the 2-weapon warrior archetype. So he just throws these axes, and then when the enemy gets up close to him, he just starts swinging with them in melee. Never has to switch weapons, never has to drop them. He's just at 100% at all times. He is so powerful. I think last week when he used his 2-weapon flurry, whatever the flurry ranger attack is, that lets you attack twice for 1 action, I think he did 76 damage. It was really, really nasty. He one-shot a monster. It was great. Do you allow playtest classes? Yes. Yep. We have a summoner at one point in both of our campaigns, in both of my Patreon campaigns. Yeah, I totally allow playtest classes. That's what they're there for, you know, to play them and test them. It was meant to be canon. Okay, yeah. Eldritch Gunslinger, that would be a cool subclass. It'd be interesting. You'd have to make it different from the Eldritch Trickster Rogue. I think it would be fun, though. Like, just shooting custom magical ammunition that deals damage. Woodpecker, do you have to knock on my door? Do you want to say hi again? No, please. Please. Knock for my viewers. Please. Please knock. So camera shy, you know? He knocks. And then I put the camera on him and he just leaves. Let me in. Let me in. I need that throwing axe build. It's really good, dude. Okay. My campaign has gone to 1 to 18. Yo, that's awesome. That's true. I forgot adventure pads are built with that in mind. So that's fair. That's a fair point. Adventure pads are 1 to 20. 2-weapon warrior is one of the best archetypes. It can be. It really, really can be. Another build question for you. Dandy archetype, but rogue and investigator are banned? Why would you ban them? Just because they can take the skill feats? I don't think that's fair. Why would wait? Unless you have an in-world reason to ban rogue and investigator. Why? Hey Nonat, did you see my comment about how to restore your stowed armor? I did. Yes. I swear I clicked restore. It might be a bug on the browser version, but apparently if it works on the mobile version, that's awesome. It's fine. We don't hear him. Hey, it's my birthday and I just got the APG and Game Mastery Guide. Let's go, Warlocks. So dual PCs are pretty simple. Effectively, you pick 2 classes and you get everything from both classes. But if both classes give the same thing, you only take the higher. For example, if you are a fighter champion, you will get the champion's armor proficiency because they're better than fighters, but you'll get the fighter's weapon proficiency because they're better than champions. Same thing goes for saving throws. So that's how dual class works. You get everything from both sides, but only the best. They don't stack. So Gestalt, I always hear people talking about Gestalt. I've never played Gestalt, and I never know how to respond to it because I don't know anything about it. Yeah, it's a decent view out my window. Mostly cars, but some nice trees. As it's turning to summer, it's getting nicer and nicer. Oh, you can't be a rogue or investigator for this build. Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, Dandy archetype is great for anybody. Granted, you need to be able to, you need to be in a city, I think, to make the most use of it, and a city you're going to be spending a lot of time in. Just spreading a rumor anywhere else isn't going to be super helpful. It's the woodpecker mating call. Isn't that really OP, Warlocks? It seems like it at first, but in reality, because you're not stacking anything, yes, characters will be stronger, but not twice as strong. You know, if you are a fighter barbarian, you don't get hit points from both. You just get 12 hit points from being a barbarian. So typically your options will be more expanded and you'll be a little bit better at everything, but not to an extreme degree. You might want to put them up against enemies of like 1 challenge rating higher than you normally would have, and you should be fine. Let's see. Gestalt is the same as dual class? Okay. It's your birthday? It's Warlock's birthday. Happy birthday, Warlocks. Dual class is stupid OP. I wouldn't say stupid OP. OP, yes. Not quite stupid, though. It is balanced. Exactly, Lucife nailed it. Same action economy. No matter how many options you have, you still only have 3 actions to use them. What class not in the game would you steal for Pathfinder? Ooh, that's a good one. I think I keep wanting to say Warlock. Whenever I think of what Pathfinder is missing, I do think it's Warlock. The hard part would be making it different from Witch. and Bard. Because Bard in Pathfinder 2e is basically a warlock because it just uses the occult spell list. Otherwise, I think I'd say artificer, but we're getting inventor, which is basically an artificer. So, yeah, I can't think of any others out there. I have wanted prestige classes, things like off the top of my head, I can't really think of any. Like the Dragon Disciple, what used to be a prestige class, but they're basically just archetypes now. So, hard to say. I can't think of any classes exactly that aren't in the game already that I really, really want. What I want is more options for those existing classes. As a player, I always want less base classes with more directions to go with them. So I don't like being told, here's 50 classes, pick one. I like being told, here's 10 classes, and each class has 5 subclasses. Pick one. That's way easier for me. Let's see. What might not be only 5e, but Fighter, Paladin, Rogue, Sneak Attack, Smite. Gross. That sounds awful. And amazing. Have you read any of the novels published for Pathfinder? I have not, because I don't read as much as I should. Yes, Warlocks. Actually, that is the most common place I would use dual class. If you only have like 2 or 3 player characters, dual class can be great because that'll balance it almost to the power of a normal 4-person party. So yeah, if you only have 2 players, dual class is fantastic. Just be aware that it will make their characters much more complicated. Yeah, witches, I wouldn't say they're almost identical to Warlocks, but they do have packs, and they do have, like, you know, the lessons and whatever, so they are similar to 5e's Warlocks. Prestige classes would be wild. I just don't think they're going to happen, unfortunately. Any 1E class, not familiar enough with 1E to make that claim, unfortunately. But I know everyone wants Inquisitor. Think Paizo will ever have you as a guest for a Knights of Everflame episode? I haven't watched Knights of Everflame, but I would agree to that in a heartbeat. Yeah, Paizo, if you're here, if you're listening... on a similar fashion, what completely new classes could come after Inventor? That's a tough one. I really don't know. After Inventor, we're going to have 20 base classes, which I think is enough. Honestly, from there, I just want them to expand the classes. Stop releasing new ones. There's 12 base, 4 in the APG, 2 in Secrets of Magic, and 2 in Guns and Gears. I think that's enough. I think stop making new classes at that point, and just make new subclasses, new options, new archetypes. Give us more things to build into. Don't give us more foundations. Yo, Jerome Mitchell, thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm considering a house rule that will kill the 3 feet requirement for dedications. How imbalancing would that be? So, wow, you just destroyed the jar with that. Whoa, it won't be super imbalanced. It's up to your players. As long as you still have the requirement where you need to pick the dedication first, it'll be fine. Because your players won't want to differentiate all that much, because it will make them weaker in the long run, you know? You might have, you know, acrobatics dedication, and the archaeologist dedication, and the witch dedication, and the oracle dedication, and the archer dedication. But dedications are weak, you know? If they're just getting all the dedications, they're going to be a pretty mostly useless character. Now, if you're playing with free archetype, you can get a little overpowered that way. But, you know, it's hard to say. It is hard to say about how overpowered it'll be. I don't think it'll be that bad, though. Money for paid Path Builder 2E. I mean, all right, if you're donating for that, we'll talk. I do think people want to see a version of me covering the mobile version. And I do want to be clear, I don't hate Path Builder. A lot of people seem to have come off that video with like, wow, he hates Path Builder. And I don't. I think it's a fine program. Again, the reason I didn't review the mobile version is because I don't use my phone much at all. But enough people have spoken up that I'll probably make a follow-up video. Another big follow-up I want to say is that the problem and the reason I was so excited looking at Wanderer's Guide versus my lack of enthusiasm with Path Builder is because Wanderer's Guide was my first. You know, everything I saw Wanderer's Guide do, I saw it for the first time. So when I saw Path Builder do it, seen it before. You know, you can watch a man do 5 backflips in a single jump, and it's awesome. Once you see a second person do it, it's less impressive. All right, let's see. How much time do we have? Okay, we got 20 minutes left. Let's hammer out some questions. I need to scroll back a little bit. We need guns for gun. We do need more guns. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. I don't like that sentence I just said. Don't clip that. Do you think Paizo is going to make Mythic for 2E? I really hope they do. I really, really hope Paizo makes Mythic levels. I would love to go beyond level 20. I think level 20 maximum is something that we have. It's an artifact from a bygone age, and I don't know why we ever decided on 20 maximum. I would love a higher level cap in TTRPGs. I was kind of hoping that Pathfinder 2E would have given you less per level, but more levels to gain. I think that would have been fun. Even, like, I don't know. The hard part would be, of course, balancing hit points and everything, and they didn't want to overchange too much, which is understandable. But I do like the idea of mythic levels. I think they'll be fun. How about like a wizard sorcerer? How would you manage all those spell slots? That's the thing, is you'd have so many spell slots, you can cast something pretty much every turn. You'll have a ton of options. You can't cast more spells per turn, but you do have more spells at your disposal. Now I legally have to chug tea? I do not. Blood Hunter class could be interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of Blood Hunter in 5e. I think it's fine. I think it's cool. It's just not my cup of tea. Sounds like you want class archetypes within classes. Yes. So that's what they actually promised in the core rulebook, but never gave us. They never gave us an archetype that specifically requires a class, that changes class features. It's in the core rulebook, but even with all the supplements, it has not been made. And I really want them to do that, seriously. Give us an archetype of ranger that gets rid of hunt prey, but gives us something completely different. Yo, Charles Grybowski with a $9.99 super chat. Not even asking a question or anything, just out of the kindness of your heart. Thanks, y'all. Seriously. This is amazing. You guys have paid both my electric bill and my utility bill this month with this stream. Sincerely. Thank you all. It really helps so much. No mythics, please, for all this holy no? Really? Let's see. I'll get caught back up here. What do y'all expect from Secrets of Magic? Now, this is a hot take. This is a really hot take. But with Secrets of Magic, I'm expecting secrets. Possibly magical ones. Let's see. Class archetypes are confirmed for Secrets of Magic? Yes! Jake, let's go. I am hyped to see them. Alright, cool. Let's see. Do you think building a character over coffee is a good date idea? Yes, Alchemic Paladin. If they are as into character designing as you are. If your partner-to-be is not interested in TTRPGs and not interested in pre-planning, probably not. But if you're both super nerds for designing characters, absolutely planning characters together could be an amazing first date idea. Not even first date, just date idea. Go out, get some coffee, bring some character sheets and some rule books, and just geek out together. That'll be a blast. And adorable. What are your thoughts on the new methods of spellcasting coming out? I am not opposed to them. I have never used rune magic. I've never used anything besides spell slots, aside from like mana in video games. But I am not opposed to them. I would need to read them and decide for myself. From what I've read, rune magic sounds kind of cool. Using different invocations of what you know, of runes you know to cast, could have some cool possibilities. We'll have to see how it goes. Burning hot take. Let's see. DM for Pathfinder 1, Wrath of Righteous. Mythic makes the character so OP, but I kind of love it. See, that's... Oh, yeah, absolutely. Once you are Mythic, the goal of Mythic is to start fighting ancient dragons and gods and demigods and rulers of hell, fighting the very foundations of reality itself with your literal godlike heroes. That's what I would love to see out of Mythic. Let's see. This is great. I hope they do it. The favorite game ever I've run was a 1E Mythic. Nice. All right then. Keep your secrets. What are your thoughts of the gunslinger? I just like the idea of bringing guns to the game. I'd rather keep it medieval fantasy. I think it's fine. I think they made the right call, making it uncommon. So as the GM, you have every right to say, no, there are no guns in my fantasy world. Because it is uncommon, the GM has written rights to say that. However, as a GM, if all of your characters are super into the idea, consider letting them do it, If your character really wants to play a gunslinger, what's it going to hurt to add a few guns into your medieval fantasy? It's not going to break the world around you. But, if your whole table is totally fine with no guns, then hey, no guns. Let's see. In basic... Oh, my chat just moved. Where did it go? I got lost. In basic and advanced D&D, the levels did go beyond 20, and 3.5 had over level 20. They did, but they weren't the same kind of levels. 20 has always been the end of, like, the normal levels. And, like, yeah, how Pathfinder 1e had Mythic. I forget what Basic and Advanced D&D had, as well as 3.5. They had a specific name to them. I think in D&D Basic, you hit your max level, which was different depending on your class, and then you started leveling up into, like, A, B, C, D. You were, like, literally, like, a level 20E character, I think is how it worked. Let's see. Spell points for Sorcerer especially is kind of fun in 5e. I do like spell points. I do like spell points and meta magic and stuff. I think that's fine. In Heroes of Myth and Legend, the hottest take for Secrets of Magic is I want a spell called More Fireball. It's just Fireball again. PF2E math has been stated to scale infinitely. Ooh, that's true. That's something I hadn't considered, but that is a really cool idea. Yeah, Pathfinder has the ability, because DCs and monster stats scale with your level, you can go beyond 20, whereas a lot of other D20 systems like D&D 3.5 and 5e are based around, you know, a 19 or a 20 and up being good no matter what level you're at. So that's an interesting idea. You pronounced my name correctly, huzzah. Shout out to Pittsburgh shout out to Pittsburgh Pathfinder Society. Let's go, Pittsburgh. That place is the pits in a good way. Anything to watch out for when adding class features to monsters and NPCs? Just make sure it's fun. Don't add anything that is completely uninteresting or unfun. If you're gonna do something, do it in a cool way. You know, if you're gonna give something an anti-magic field, make it able to be dispelled, or make it only a certain radius so that wizards need to position themselves out of it. Don't just be like, no magic for 10 miles. Fun. Yeah, as long as it's interesting and dynamic, it's cool. Try to avoid anything that is just like, you take damage, or you have this condition, or blank. Whoa! Oh god, Wretched's here. What's up, Wretched, with the 1999 freaking super chat? Question. What is your take on minor homebrewed magic items? Like minor things that have small effects that help players in much later scenarios? I love them. I absolutely adore magic items that are seemingly worthless or do very, very little things. And that are either super important later on or grow with the player. You know, even though my rogue in my campaign, I gave them a ring of minor fire resist. It just lets them resist like 5 fire damage. Even though it has never come up, they haven't fought like fire elementals or dealt with any massive amount of fire damage, they still had fun with it. You know, they impressed an NPC by wearing the ring and taking a torch and holding their hand over the torch flame. Thanks to the ring, it didn't do any damage, so he didn't feel any pain. And the NPC was like, whoa! So they had fun with it, you know? A magic item does not need to be game-changing. It does not need to warp and bend reality around the user. It can just be fun. Giving your players something fun and unique to work with is just as rewarding as something that gives them plus 10 damage. Hope that answered your question. How would you go about making lawful neutral, neutral, and chaotic neutral paladin subclasses? What would the flavor for them be? So I made a video on that way back. It was like one of my first 10, 20 videos. It's awful. Don't watch it. But yeah, me and my friend talked about it, and I think the neutral ones were like all around keeping balance and keeping the peace. Like lawful neutral, I think, was a peacekeeper. I think true neutral was the watcher, and chaotic neutral was the reveler. And chaotic neutral got bonuses for, I think chaotic neutral gave allies temporary hit points whenever the allies got like downed an enemy. Whenever an enemy knocked someone down, they granted that ally temporary hit points. The Watcher, I think, could like adjust die rolls similar to like Divinity Magic. I can't remember exactly what that one did. And the Peacekeeper, I believe, gave penalties to attack. I can't remember exactly. It was a long time ago. But yeah, they were all about keeping the balance. Not good, not evil, just balance. Yo, Christopher Stevenson and Cluston Lee Murray jumping on the Wretched Stuffed Dono train. Oh my word. You see what you do, Wretched? For some reason, whenever this guy shows up, people just start throwing money at me. And it's very weird, this effect he has. Let's see. Pathfinder novels are also on Audible, keeping that in mind. Have you played most pre-made campaigns or homebrew campaigns? Almost all homebrew. I am just now getting into pre-made because Paizo makes really high quality stuff, especially lately. I'm very excited to run Abomination Vaults, and I just finished running the Beginner's Box, which is sort of what makes me want to play more pre-made stuff, even though I usually play homebrew. How do you feel about being loose with spell rules? Totally fine. Yeah. The more I play a system, the more comfortable I get. A year ago, if someone said, "Can I cast Produce Flame to light a torch?" I'd be like, "Well, technically the cantrip doesn't light a fire; it just deals fire damage, so no." But nowadays, I'm like, "Yeah, dude, go for it. Cast Produce Flame on a torch, light it up. I'm fine with that." You know, again, it's just about how comfortable you are with the system. The more comfortable you get, the more you know the system, the more loosey-goosey you can get. Like Magic Missile requires you to target a creature. How do you feel about letting a player target an object instead? Totally fine. Oh yeah, that's absolutely fine with me. Dire Form from Beast Kind plus Whirlwind Strike with Reach Weapon. Yay or meh? I'm not sure. I don't remember what Dire Form does, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I think it just gives you some... It's like casting Change Shape at like half your level or something. I think it'd be fine. I think it would just be a worse version of Animal Instinct Barbarian with Whirlwind Strike, unfortunately. Yeah, I think that's what you would end up with, Nicholas, is just a worse version of an Animal Instinct Barbarian with Whirlwind Strike. Even though PF2 is balanced to play, people must know it still is a superhero game. Yes, a level 5 player character could absolutely kill an entire town. If their highest guards are only level 3, yeah, a single level 5 player character could dominate that town. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Pathfinder is definitely designed to scale exponentially. You grow really fast to heavily above average. Even starting as a level 1 character, you are almost on par with the average city guard, which is like level 6 or 7 in D&D. I think it might be level 5. Fun magic item reminds me of my Lord of the Rings game where my assassin found a bleating dagger which bleated like a lamb whenever orcs were near. Genius. I love it. One of my players has a necklace that creates an air bubble around their head when they enter water, and later I plan on them having a swimming dungeon. That's awesome. Exactly like that. Yeah. Definitely give items that are more roleplay focused. You know, items that don't have an in-combat or inherent mechanical use. Give them things that are situational. You know, things, you know, breathing underwater, limited flight, stuff like that lets them get creative. Players love that junk. At least mine. Do you use a virtual tabletop when you play? Lately, yes, but also lately, less so. Obviously, through quarantine, I've been using Fantasy Grounds and whatnot, but lately, with my friends, we've just been playing Theater of the Mind, maybe using a virtual tabletop just for maps. I don't use... if I can avoid it, I don't use any of the auto-tracking systems or the battle tracker. This right here, this is my virtual tabletop. It's all in here. Let's see. Yeah, same. I've played homebrew campaigns only for the first 20 years, but lately with 2E, I've really loved pre-made. Yeah, Paizo makes some really good stuff. Since Eldritch Archer can only put spells with attack rolls in their arrows, something my friends have been discussing is, could you put Magic Missile in an arrow? No, you cannot put Magic Missile in an Eldritch Archer arrow, because Magic Missile does not make an attack roll. You cannot aim Magic Missile. So, rules is written, no, you cannot do a Magic Missile arrow. Being familiar with the system means you know where you can bend and where you would break it. Yes, that is a great choice of words, Robin. Yeah, you know which parts of the game are strong enough to bend and which ones are brittle enough that they would snap. Which is better, health alone or AC and saves? I'm going to say AC and saves. In Pathfinder 2E specifically, armor class and saving throws are way better than a few hit points. Because in Pathfinder 2E, armor class and saving throws are not about missing or resisting. It is about not getting crit. That is the best advice I have ever been given by anybody, is that armor class is about not getting crit. Because as long as you are less than that plus 10, you're safe. Most things will not deal catastrophic damage on a normal hit, but so many things in this game get bonus effects off of critical hits, and so if your wizard or something gets critically hit, it's a high chance you'll lose about 60 to 80% of your health on a single critical hit. Thanks for the opinion on dedications, though I am doing free archetype. I couldn't think of many dedications that would be better than get level 6 feet. Exactly. Yeah. No, free archetype is fine. And again, even if you get rid of the 3 feet dedication, that's more of a flavor thing. You know, it's to put emphasis on the fact that your character is studying to learn through the dedication, and they have to commit a certain amount of time to it before learning something else. Oh, my voice is starting to go. That's good. We got 5 minutes left. Let's pound out a few more questions here. Wretched with another $10 freaking dollars. Thank you for the input and all the help you give to us DMs and players. Keep up the good work, brother. Thank you, Wretched. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. All right, let's see. Let's scroll down here. Let's knock out one or two more questions. What other RPGs have you played other than Pathfinder 2? I've played like 2 sessions of Pathfinder 1. I've played a ton of 3.5, a ton of Basic, a little bit of 5e. I've played Call of Cthulhu. I've played Shadowrun. That it? Obviously, I've played a ton of board games. I think that's it for TTRPGs, though. I'm gonna say yes for now, because none of the other ones are standing out. I played Everyone is John, which is a blast. I love Everyone is John. I do want to live stream an Everyone is John game sometime, so keep your eyes out for that. That'd be a ton of fun. What, in your opinion, is the worst class feat? Class feats are tough, because most class feats are pretty good. Hard to say. I'd have to do some research on that one, Ryan, actually. Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't think I know of any bad class feats. If I had to pick one right now, I think it would be... what's the level 1 fighter feat press action that prevents your multiple attack penalty? So that's one of my least favorite feats in the game, just because it doesn't feel good to use. Fighter feats. It is Exacting Strike. I do not like Exacting Strike. Exacting Strike feels boring to use. The most you will get is a second attack at -5. It's okay. It's not that fun. And it's only effective if you are just spamming attack. So, Hello, I don't use modules, homebrew campaigns. Is Pathfinder 1 to Pathfinder 2 worth it, or should I wait for more content? I mean, the amount of content Pathfinder 1 is absurd. I'm not sure what you're asking there. Is Pathfinder 1 to Pathfinder 2 worth it? Do you mean like converting it? If you're super into the Pathfinder 1 content, sure, go for it, convert it. Not the easiest thing in the world, but it can be done. Overall, Pathfinder 2e has plenty of content in it already. Pathfinder 2 has enough content that you could play it for the rest of your life and not experience everything. But then again, same could be said for pretty much any TTRPG. I have not played Pathfinder 2e, but would like to. I asked, do you think it would be a good idea to have proficiency add half your level rather than full or none? No, I think that would unfortunately be the hardest to balance of the 3 options. I would say either add full level or no level. Adding half level would just make DCs and saves and whatnot really a pain to... it would be a real pain to balance around, and it would make every other level feel much more meaningless. If you level up and your stats don't get better every other level, then you're going to kind of resent those other levels. Whereas at least if you're playing with no level to DC, then at least you don't have expectations every other level. Half level just would overcomplicate things. Let's see. The sad thing about Eldritch Archer is that spells with attack rolls become rarer level after level. True, but you can heighten. Heightening spells is never a bad idea. Basic is a blast, Jake. Basic is a ton of fun, and I would recommend D&D Basic to anyone who doesn't want to be constrained by rules. The character sheet is 1 page. You have like 5 different saving throws, 6 stats, and special abilities, and that's it. It's really, really fun. Been having fun playing my Tiefling Sorcerer. His favorite trick is at 6 feet high, crawling into locks and summoning an undead amongst the enemies so my party can... That's awesome. Crawling into locks? What does that mean? Ugh, it sounds creepy. Look up Kill 6 billion demons. Will do. Alright, let's hammer out these last 3 questions. I know that. Quick, easy question for you. Any ideas on how to solve the... Oh, Jesus. Why is Rogue the right class to do so? Because rogues are good at everything. Because rogues are the best. Rogues are literally good at every single thing in the game. I wish I had someone to bounce ideas at for brainstorming where everyone I know that cares about TTRPGs plays in my campaign. I find something... Well, hey, that's a really good segue. If you would like to bounce anything off of people in the Pathfinder world, well, hey, this is a cordial invitation to join the Known At Ones Discord server. There's tons of people in there. We chat, we talk about all things Pathfinder, and if you are ever looking for like a nice forum to bounce ideas off of, they are always looking to just talk and judge you harshly. I'm kidding, we're not super judgmental. People hate the alchemist in there, but that's about the only big problem in there. Overall, we're a very cool, accepting community. So everyone, please go ahead and join. I think that is it today. So it is 6 p.m. exactly. That is our 2-hour mark. So thank you guys so much for coming out here today. All 100 of you. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for chatting here with me today. Thank you for asking your questions. I know I can't get to everyone's questions, but let's be honest, that's a really good problem to have. Thank you for all of your incredible donations today. I look forward to doing this again next week. I think I'm going to keep doing this. You guys clearly had a really, really good time with this, and so did I. So thank you so much for watching. I will probably be uploading a condensed version of this next week, so if you came in late or whatever and missed some questions, you'll be able to catch up on those. And yeah, I'll be seeing you guys for some new videos next week and another stream next Friday. So thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no Nat 1.